Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Popular Demand Podcast. I should have probably looked up what number this was beforehand. But we are going to be here. This is just going to be a music-only podcast today. We're going to be talking about Polo G, Migos, Doja Cat, Meek Mill, and Makami. There's no Jordan. Jordan has prior engagements. There's no John. There's no Cord. There's no Jaquez. There's no Cam. But instead, we have the superior Grant, and we have the superior
Let's go.
Daniel. Listen, we don't love them boys anyway. We all knew I was going to take over this podcast one day. But here we are. Here it begins. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is Migos Culture 3. So, Migos long anticipated. Was it longly anticipated? I guess it was more anticipated in terms of could they get the hype back? Are they still what they once were? Especially with their claims of them being the greatest rap group of all time. I know that's going to be a hot topic today. So, fellas, how do we feel about Culture 3 in general? Grant, let me get your thoughts.
Okay, so my thoughts on going to Culture 3, my expectations were really, I'm gonna be honest with you, they were pretty low going to Culture 3. However, I was very, very pleased with what I heard because they went back to that. Because with Culture 2, it was like they were fishing so hard for those big features and they just did not hit at all.
Yeah.
With Culture 3, it's like, I'm not saying it's on the same level as Culture 1, but they went back to that. They kind of went back to that sound they were going for. Like, hey, go ahead, do what you regularly do. Like, this is what y'all are good at. Y'all need to stick to this. It's some joint. I think it's a decent album. It's some joints on there that I'll definitely come back to. I'm not saying the album whole, but it's not like a bad album or anything like that. However, I think with the whole thing of them getting back to that stardom, I don't think they ever will get back to that stardom because, for one, it's been 4 years since Culture 2 or 3.
I didn't realize it's been that long, to be honest with you. I didn't realize.
I think it's 3. I think it's been 3 years since Culture 2. And the thing is, after Culture 2, first week sales, they did 200K first week. Then after that, you just start you saw a super sharp drop. And then they decided they wanted to do their solo albums that I want to say that fall of that year. And they just did not get as much reception as they thought it was. And it's just kind of been, I want to say they've been pretty, I don't want to say irrelevant, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it. They've been kind of irrelevant musically for the past couple years before this release. And really, when you just heard about them, it was Quavo dating Sweetie, Offset, and his relationship drama with Cardi B, Takeoff.
And see, that's one of my things, Grant. I realized as I was listening to it, there was so much of what they were saying that I didn't particularly care about, and I wouldn't care about if I didn't know their personal lives. If I didn't know, if I wasn't analyzing every Quavo bar, that was this might be about Sweetie, because they definitely put out those snippets 3 months ago of that fucking Lambo line. And then the same thing with Offset. I feel like there was so much that just did not matter to me unless it was about them. And granted, that's always been one of my things about the Migos. Personally, their albums haven't necessarily been my cup of tea. Because I don't really feel like, to me, their most dynamic they always has to be when they have a feature. Now, I'm not saying their most dynamic songs are because of the feature, but definitely every time they have a feature, they kind of, for example, the Juice WRLD feature, that was my favorite Quavo performance on the album. And I don't know if it's just stylistically, I don't know if he just kind of felt more, I don't know if he needs someone to guide his hand. But something about that just makes me not care about them as the three of them, the Migos. I don't know.
I think they're I'm gonna say my little spiel and then you can go. But I just think, I don't want to say their time is run out. I don't think they still won't be successful going forward. I just don't think that Culture 2, Culture 1 status that they had, they're not reaching that again. I think and from a music standpoint, I don't think they're trash or anything like that. I enjoy their music. I still come back to their old music and a lot of their projects, but it's not like I'm going to war for them on Twitter or anything like that. If somebody thinks the album sucks, I'm gonna let them think that, because I don't think it's not like something I'm just gonna straight up defend over. They're not that good of artists to me. So yeah, that's just my opinion.
Damn, Quavo had you niggas fooled for years. Daniel, what are your thoughts on the album?
I don't have anything particularly negative to say. So I have album thoughts. I feel like we deviated from album and went to a lot of other things, and I want to touch on a lot of other things, but I'll start at the album, then I'll spread out. So personally, I don't think the album was bad at all. So it took me 3 listens to almost finish it. So if there are 19 songs, I've heard 17 of them. So I just kept losing interest, and it was interesting to me because I don't believe the music is particularly bad. I just think a lot of artists tend to oversaturate themselves and release bloated projects. And if I don't care, I just can't make myself care. But I was listening to it earlier today. I got the second half in while I was at the gym. And I don't think it's bad music. I think the rap performances are great. I've always felt as if Offset was the best Migos. And I feel like that is apparent throughout this music. So through this chop of music, I thought it was interesting. You can always tell, like when artists use certain tactics to sell. So I thought it was interesting that Drake and Cardi B were like some of the first songs, but those are the big name features. So they want to get that in the beginning just to ensure people are like checking in and tuning in. The Drake feature didn't particularly move me. And I think maybe it's because my mind was expecting another Walk It Like I Talk It. So then when I got what I got, it was very different. It was what I believe to be like more of a rapidy type feature, but I don't think it was a bad song at all.
Like the third Migo,
I was like, how do you feel about that?
The internet told me it was a bad line. So listening to it, I was just like, whatever. But then it's when I got on the internet. And
it doesn't help that he said that. I don't think it's gonna be like a huge debacle or anything like that. It probably is. It probably isn't. But the fact that he said that, and knowing that Takeoff just like overcame a sexual assault case is not the best. But
I can tell you my mind didn't even. There's a lot of things.
I know. I just found that out. Like I found that on my timeline.
He was fighting something. I actually don't know what the resolution of that situation was. I feel like, I don't know, like a lot of things in hip hop. And Delon, I apologize if I'm about to really deviate, but I just think we see a lot of cases like that pop up in hip hop, and then either no one reports it or it just doesn't go anywhere. It's like I've been keeping up with this, or I loosely been keeping up with this like T.I. thing, but I don't think it's gonna like manifest into anything because hip hop just as a genre doesn't.
When he makes songs about it, the worst position he's putting himself in.
Yeah,
to be honest with you,
it's significantly gotten worse.
But yeah, back to music.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think I don't think it was a bad project. I think it was a solid project. It was too long for my liking personally. I think I've gotten to a point where I just don't necessarily care or need anything from the Migos. So it just doesn't matter to me in that aspect. And I've been seeing a lot of people. So Grant, you're right. I think the Culture 2 dropped. Motorsport dropped at the end of 2017. So if the album didn't drop at the end of 2017, it dropped at the top of 2018. So that's 4 years ago. So I think it's been interesting. I see a lot of people rewriting history and like what the Migos have been during this like past time. But it's my personal opinion that Culture 2 was powered off of like a impending Nicki and Cardi beef. And I think that's what Motorsport was. And I think that's why that song worked the way it worked, because the Migos were then going on like promo shows saying, or like, yeah, they the new Roxanne Shaw and whoever Roxanne Shaw was beefing against. I'm sorry, Queens. I'm not from New York. I don't care that much. But
I agree on that sentiment, but also I want to put out is that I think Culture 1 was such a lightning in the bottle moment that they pretty much did every, like rollout wise, they played that pretty damn well. And this thing is
good music, and I think Culture 1 was just a build up to what they had been doing. So personally, I went to the first 2 years of my undergrad experience, I went to an HBCU. Shout out FAMU. Shout out them Rattlers. So the Migos were just like a thing on campus, and that's before Culture. So I think they had already just been building up this wave. Like Versace happens. So I believe Culture pops and works just because it's a buildup, and I think that's why Culture 2 sell so well because once again, this is all like a slow, steady incline and they're continuously building up. I think the issue is Culture 2, they get greedy. So Culture 1 has maybe like 12 tracks. Then Culture 2 has like 24. So it became oversaturated. You could tell they're trying to like fight for streams and things like that. So it's bad music. Then, like you said, Grant, they go solo. We don't really care about their solo careers. The Migos have dropped maybe like 5 singles in the past 12 months. I bet neither of you can name one of them because just no one cares.
I can.
No one's listening.
I know this one though.
So I think they were in an interesting space. I don't think they'll be ever where they were commercially again. But I think there's always a place for the Migos. So I think they'll be an important rap act, rap group, whatever. But I think they let them being the only hip hop group go to their heads and making them think they were the greatest hip hop group. So
So does anyone out of all the songs in the album, did any of them actually stick with you or stick out to you?
Roadrunner.
I did like Roadrunner.
Roadrunner is one of those Migos tracks that it really made me think. It brought me back to the old days of being like when this is like 2 or 3 years before Culture happened, where like I would say was their prime musically. That's when they just had that super core following and really nothing more. And like that's when like Fight Night came out and things like that. Roadrunner reminds me of the days where they was just they weren't focused as much as making like on hit songs and things like that and everything being sonically pleasing, just doing what people came up like for instance in the blog era, like you had the best way I'm trying to say it is that you know how when you listen to an artist at the beginning of their career and you're like, man, I'm listening to this artist for this particular thing. And then some artists, they'll venture off and do other stuff. And then some will just stay that same. This is how Roadrunner made me feel. It made me feel like I was back in 2014 listening to No Label 2. Like it's like that was a pretty good track.
I enjoyed Roadrunner too, but on that point, I think artists, it's weird because if artists start doing something different, we'll be like, man, I'll miss when they used to be, I want the old Drake back. But then if they stay consistent, you'll be like, damn, Pusha rapping about bricks again. So I think artists are always in this weird space where it's you're damned if you do or you're damned if you don't. So I can't necessarily, and I won't even say, I don't feel like sonically the Migos really branched out of anything that they were doing before from No Label to now. I think we just don't care anymore. The music just isn't as good.
I think they got better engineers.
I'd say Culture 2, they kind of, I want to say they tried to push out of the box they were in, and I'm not saying like it was Culture 1 bad or anything like that, but Culture 2, they tried to push out of the box they were they're in. It just had too many freaking songs. Like they tried to make more I feel like they try to make more radio friendly songs on Culture 2, like with Stir Fry. And
I feel that way, but I'm also a person who never finished listening to Culture 2. So I don't even know if I'm like entitled to have like a real opinion on the project outside of me saying it was bloated, oversaturated. So I just stopped listening. I never went back. But I don't know if I felt like they were trying to be mainstream. I think after a point you just become mainstream. So yeah, so them making songs with Drake, they were already making songs with Drake. I mean, now you got a Pharrell beat, but I don't know if that's, to me, you're trying. And that Stir Fry beat was so unorthodox, especially in 2017, 2018. So I can't even say they're doing that to be radio friendly because nothing like that was on the radio outside of it just being Drake.
Honestly, so my thoughts now, I'm like, I heard the line 2 girls kissing on a yacht called Friendship. And I was like, this is gonna be a long journey, man. First off, any bar that says "call it" or Lil Wayne used to do, like, he used to say mispronounce something and then go back and say "I mean" and then say it correctly. Like, all those bars just really annoy me. So 2 girls kissing on a yacht called Friendship. I just knew this was gonna be a journey. My best performances, my favorite performances ranked on the album. I got Cardi number 1. I got YoungBoy number 2. I got Future number 3. I got Drake number 4. I got Quavo on Malibu, and I got Offset on Malibu in that order. For me, that's sad that the top 4 performances on your album to me were just not you at all.
The thing about the YoungBoy song, what what's so hilarious to me is that because that was one of the singles that a lot of people didn't know about before the album dropped. Is that the song happened in the first place? Because I didn't even know Young Boy even rocked with them before the song even came out. What'd you say, Daniel?
It has a video and everything.
Yeah, it got and the video was really good. And the thing is, I feel like they dropped the song at the wrong time, because
there's no wrong time when people just don't care. So
I mean, listen,
and I think that song was only as successful as it was because of Young Boy. So people just don't care. I don't think they could have dropped it the summer, winter, spring, fall. None of that was going to matter. People just don't care. People were not engaged. Like you said, we wanted to see him and Saweetie. Quavo and Saweetie were doing whatever hell they were doing, little couple magazine spreads, whatever. Cardi and Offset do whatever they do. I personally love clout, but I love clout for Cardi.
I genuinely think if Saweetie was on this album, she would out rap the Migos.
I'm sure she originally was supposed to be on this album. I'm sure that was going to be a moment. We're going to get Saweetie, Cardi together.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a plan.
Because that didn't manifest in their personal lives. We didn't get it professionally. But so it is. Once again, I don't think it's a bad album. I think it's a pretty solid effort. Is it something I'm listening to again? Absolutely not.
Never in my life.
So
yeah,
really complacent. I don't know, man. It just felt like they didn't do anything new unless somebody forced their hand to. And last thing, yeah, Dan, you mentioned a couple days ago, they pulled every trick out of the book that they could. Cardi, Drake, Future, Young Boy, Juice WRLD, Pop Smoke. Dog, Polo G outsold you at this point. Polo G outsold you. You just gotta eat that one. You gotta take that.
And that's not like a not to Polo G. It's just some people ain't got it no more. Like in terms of that, like some people, like once again, like this is the new young rapper era. This is the little the baby era, like the little baby era. This is the younger guys like Polo G. Like the public is just more focused on them now. It's just, that's just how it is.
Honestly, I just think like they say, a lot of people took or were influenced by a flow that they came up on and they made prominent. But listen,
brother, spare me.
I don't even want to get into this.
Listen. All that said, listen. That's not my point. Listen, all that said, they don't even do it the best. So
it's not theirs. It's been around forever. And I
would
never say the Migos didn't.
They don't do it the best.
That they didn't help popularize certain things. But I think what they believe they are is very separated from what actual reality is. So they were very popular at a point in time. I think they definitely helped make certain sounds popular, maybe. But if we're being honest, that flow, yes, it was theirs, but it only became mainstream because Drake mimicked it on Versace. So people knew it not because of you, but because Drake did it. So it's
you didn't even do the best from the jump. So Migos Culture 3. If you drop a new album, please don't make it Culture 4. We need to leave the Culture series. Also, the same advice to Ray Shrimmer, Shrimmer Life 4. We don't need that. Just go ahead and get a new name. Leave that legacy.
Jimmy.
Shout out to Slim Jimmy. Two girls kissing on a yacht. I call that friendship. Okay, so next up we have. Wait, what'd you say?
If you were in a club and you heard it, you would enjoy it.
I don't think I can't say that I would.
I'm telling you would.
Okay, so now we are going up to the single by Doja Cat. Doja Cat released a new single called Need to Know off her upcoming album. I think it drops next week, called Planet Her. Or is it Planet She? Planet something. This is a wild picture of my background.
Also, we can't even see it. Your head.
I know. That's why I kind of backed up so I can cover a little bit more of it. This is a wild picture of my background. So it's Doja. Anywho, yeah. So how do we feel about the single, fellas?
I didn't. So I heard the leak first because I listened to leaks. So it wasn't. I've now listened to the song maybe 5-6 times, and the more I listen to it, the more I enjoy it. So I'm unsure if I was just slow to it or I'm forcing myself to enjoy it. I don't know which of the two it is. I don't particularly think it's a bad song. I think Doja is extremely talented, as you both know. But I don't know if this one was the one for me. And I was the one saying, I want to hear Doja rap more. Give me some rappity. And then she started rapping. Like, yeah, Doja, I don't know if this was the one.
I personally enjoyed it. Regardless, I'm not gonna even regardless of from a straight musical standpoint. I mean, I can't even lie, she's got it. Like all of her, I enjoyed what's the name of the Pink album?
Hot Pink.
I enjoyed Hot Pink. I enjoyed the single she put out called Freak. I enjoyed the song that she put out with SZA. She's got the musical touch, and she's just got the charisma as well. Like in terms of all the younger, I want to say in terms of, I don't want to say that lane of music, but she just got it. Yeah, she has a talent musically.
Doja definitely has her. She has the ear. Even when it comes to beats that we don't even know we like until 8 months later and all that kind of stuff. Her melody, she's just really good. This single though, I felt it was cool. I want to use the excuse of she knew it was going to be a big week, so she just put out something that was cool. Didn't want to put out anything that was like outstanding or blah 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 blah. But she shot a video, so she was going with it. Like this is going to be it regardless.
I was having on that point. So from my understanding, this is billed as a promo single. So I was talking to some friends who just know a lot more about like music business than I do. So I was like, please explain to me what's the difference between a promo single? Because I was like, if this got a video, I know it's going to appear on some like streaming playlist. Why is this not a single? And they were trying to tell me like radio is the difference, and because this isn't being billed to radio. But to me, if you put enough money into it that you shot a video and you having it attached to like major streaming playlists, I don't really personally understand how that works and how it wouldn't be a single. But to your point, I think you can make that argument that she wasn't super serious about it because it's not a single, it's a promo single.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I will like a lot more. I don't dislike it. I'm not even gonna say no, I do like it. I like it a lot.
The album.
Yeah. I gotta see where it lays. Because also with Doja's album, with Hot Pink, the first few singles were not my favorite songs on that album. So
I keep it juicy. Eat that lot.
I'll tell you what though, I also now put that fucking Tyga verse on that bitch. Cause I love her last verse and then just Tyga's
running, you just running. Stop playing with Big Doja.
You wanna keep going, Dan?
That's a classic. Streets know her body.
Listen, man, streets very much know her body. But hey man, I'm excited for the album. This single didn't make me more excited for the album. That's my thoughts for the
Yeah, I'd say I feel the same. I was intrigued by the track list. Of course, there were some people I expected that. I wasn't disappointed at any of the features I saw. I'm excited that her and Jid have a record, though I believe it already leaked. I didn't listen to it. So I'll be waiting until the album actually drops to listen to it. And I'm excited that Jid is getting the look. Yes, I'm saying she's giving him a look. They're at very different points in their career. So, because though Jid has a Cole feature, Cole's not a real hit maker, or I believe someone who can like hand out looks. So hopefully Doja is able to catapult Jid somewhere else, because Jid is a very talented artist. I'm excited to hear the song with The Weeknd. I don't really care to hear the Ariana Grande song, though I don't think it'll be bad. It's just not something.
We know what they do.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm excited for Doja. I think Doja's super talented. I think she is. I know some people are like, she's not a rapper. She's an R&B singer, blah, blah, whatever. But yeah, I think she's incredibly talented. I personally label her as a rapper. So yeah, those are my feelings on Big Doja. Shout out my South African sister.
I just needed a Rico feature. That's all I needed on that album, man.
I did. Crazy enough, you told me that, and I was like, yeah, who cares? And then I heard the Rico feature from that dropped this weekend. I said, no, hold on.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Tia Tamara, that song still go up. Doja and Rico is a duo that needs to happen again.
I love Doja. And that was someone I fronted on, I think, at first. But she definitely got me. She has me. Like, I have no problem spending money on Doja Cat. I would attend a Doja Cat concert. I think she just understands. Yeah, I found out she produces some of her music too. She's just an incredible talent. So I hope that she continues to have just crazy success. And I want to hear her be around for a long time.
Shout out to Big Doja, man. Twitter couldn't keep her down forever. Twitter could not keep her down forever.
Ain't
Um,
nothing heroes.
so on to our next album. We have Grant's Young Goat. Grant's next up. Grant's future of hip hop. Grant's number one for the next few years. Polo G with his album Hall of Fame. So please, Grant, please begin to share your thoughts on this album.
Listen, man, when it comes to a lot of these these younger rappers, like when I think of somebody that is, I wouldn't classify as a student of the game, but somebody that I see that just has like an extreme amount of potential going forward, Polo G is definitely high on that list. Like in terms of being a versatile rapper, he can make a banger. He can give you that stuff. Like first of all, he can make a banger. Second of all, he can any type of track that I feel like you need. I feel like Polo G can make. Like for instance, this album had a lot of variety. He had a track with like he goes back to Chicago roots on this album. Like the track with G Herbo on this album, I really liked. I've always liked collabs between Chicago rappers. The track with Nicki, I enjoyed. Kind of like I guess I say the OG. Would I say the OG with the new generation of rappers? Would I use that term? And then also we do have. Wait,
I don't give any opinions on Nicki without Daniel's approval. So Daniel would Nicki be the OG?
Go ahead, Grant. I've misheard something, but go ahead.
Daniel, what I was saying was the OG, like Nicki being the OG on this. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
100%.
I really feel like Polo G potential is this. I mean, like the sky's the limit. My only issue with Polo G is that he needs some variety in his production. I'm not gonna say he need to go rap. Like I ain't gonna get my backpacker bag and say you need to rap over Alchemist beats or Ninth Wonder stuff like that. But I do feel like his production can be a little bit predictable on his albums, like with Polo G the GOAT and then Polo G this album Hall of Fame. It just kind of the production was just kind of, oh, where have I heard this before? Like, I mean, it was pretty predictable. Also love the cover, by the way. It gives off a really big mixtape feel, like back in the old days. One of my favorite tracks on this album is, what is it called? The very last track on the album. It's called Blood on the storytelling one we talked about.
The outro.
It just really just displayed his best what he can do as a rapper, and I've always been a fan of good storytelling track, no matter who it is. So I was really excited for this album. Like when we talk about Young is up next, Polo G, he is definitely in that conversation.
For me, Polo G makes me feel less old. So like with all these guys right now, like a bunch of them, like I don't really get it. I ain't really feeling it. I guess it's not for me. But then
he give you that blog fair feel, kind of.
I don't know. I don't even know if it's that. I just like I hear
saying Polo might be the only young artist he likes, so he don't feel like an old man to be like, no damn new rapper.
So no, not even that. It's kind of that. It's like Polo G is a young artist who makes music that sounds like the other artists. He just does it well, and he raps well in it. So it's like, oh no, I don't like hate this music. Them niggas just suck, and that makes me feel so good. That makes me feel so good. So yeah, I feel a lot what you're saying about the Polo G, and I don't know if it's like he needs a variety of production. For me, I just feel like he needs the better producers for that. I don't know. A lot of it felt like he got the beats off YouTube, and then a lot of the beats, or a lot of the songs, really, not even just the beats. A lot of the songs, I felt like they weren't quite out of the oven yet. I don't know. A lot of layering issues for me. But yeah, I definitely like the path that he's on. I definitely like the album. I would listen to this. I would listen to select songs from this album again. This is definitely of all the music I listen to, I'd probably say it's my second favorite.
Second favorite Polo project or second favorite
listen. Yeah. Seventh favorite experience I had to listen to for this podcast. That said, that last track, I don't know if I'm as high on it. It's cool, but a lot of things with like when we talk about like do the rappers that we're talking about have these skills, right? And one of them is always storytelling. Do they have storytelling? A lot of the time, it's like have they had a song where they did tell a story? Not necessarily. Is that song good? Is that song skillful? Can we check it off the list? That's kind of what it felt like to me. That's kind of how. No, RIP. That's how I feel about some rappers from like 2010 who used to make those story songs. I'm sure y'all know who I'm talking about. It's
So
kind of
that,
like A B A B A B. We're getting to the end of the story.
so I want to say, I'm gonna get to that point because I know what you're thinking about, but no, I don't agree with you. I have
What are you talking about?
opinion, but I know what you're talking about. So, but first, I will say this was my first time listening to Polo G ever. I never even heard that Rap Star song. I just
Same.
knew it was a thing because I knew it was a really big song. It debuted at number one. So I knew he was like a budding and buzzing act, but I never got to it. Anybody who know me knows if someone says featuring Nicki Minaj, I'ma just get to it. Like that is the easiest way to get me as a listener. So I was going into it initially just to hear that. I don't know why I sat down and listened to the album, but I did. And it definitely surprised me. It's not what I expected. And it's weird for me to say I've never heard this artist's music at all, but I had like low expectations already. And maybe I am that old man. And I'm okay with saying that. It takes a lot for me to listen to a new act because I just genuinely don't care what a lot of people have to say. But he surprised me from the intro. I enjoyed the intro, and from the music on, I enjoyed it. I thought it was very varied. So I thought he gave me some songs that were very aggressive, some songs that were more emotional, some songs that he tried to give me like an island type feel thing with the Nicki track. So I think he hit different ranges, and I can enjoy that from an act. I didn't have an issue with the production. I know you both kind of alluded to that or just flat out said it. I don't think it was bad. I think it fit for what it was. And I think each of the features came out and added something to it rather than taking something to it. So I think each feature lived up to the expectation on the track, especially on a body of work called Hall of Fame. So I'm not saying every feature gave like a Hall of Fame performance, but I believe every feature let you know like, hey, either I should be in the Hall of Fame or I'm going to be in the Hall of Fame. So Delon is saying that the outro makes him think of Tony's Story by Meek Mill.
No, I'm not actually. I'm not.
Well,
I'm not.
Go
Didn't even
ahead.
think of that song.
Well, that's the first song I personally thought of when I heard the outro was Tony's Story by Meek Mill. In high school, I was a very big Meek Mill listener, very, very, very big Meek Mill listener, and I'm a person who loves Tony's Story. I didn't really like Tony's Story 2. Tony's Story is really cool, but the original is the superior. So that's immediately where it took me. So Delon, as far as your point is, you're saying, we're saying people are good storytellers just because they're giving stories, so they may not be giving us like a Nas Rewind type story. Where we can say you're actually skillful. They're just giving a story. I don't mind that because I don't need everyone to be an elite MC.
I don't need like conceptually the story to be crazy. I don't need that. I just need the rhyme scheme to not be cat, hat, sat, mat, bat. It felt like, I'm just gonna say it, speaker knockers. Like niggas talking about old speaker knockers. Like I'm gonna say it one time since Grant's here. It just really reminded me like speaker knockers, and I really don't like. What was it, Rico's story?
Yes, Rico's story.
So like he just had a bad day and ran away, and now the thing is like he was flowing well. It wasn't as I wouldn't call it shitty. I'd call Rico's story shitty. It just wasn't like I could have done this in 5th grade.
So personally, I've never heard of speaker knockers. I just looked that person up right now. I want to say rest in peace to them.
Rest in peace.
I've never heard this song, so I don't have like something to give back in retort. But once again, I don't need. And one, not to say that the average rapper is a bad rapper, but I don't think there are many rappers currently who are giving me like very complex rhyme schemes. So I can't tell you that's what I'm looking for that in a story because you're not giving me that in general. So I'm always going to meet you where you are. And especially if I'm listening, Polo doesn't count because I had never heard his music before. But for most acts, if I'm listening to you already and then I listen to your album, I already know where your skill level is. Now, of course, you can surpass it. You can be a person like Kendrick, Section 80 and Good Kid, Mad City. There's a large gap between the two, and that is like a crazy ascension on a next project. But for the most part, I'm not looking for, or I'm not expecting that in most acts when I pick up their album. So I don't need you to rapidy me in the story if you're not a rapidy rapper. Everybody should stay in their lane. So
see, I agree with you to that very end because I just feel like I had better evidence on this album. I feel like I just had better evidence on this album of him being capable of it.
He's being cakewalked, Polo?
Capable.
Oh, he's capable.
Yeah. I've just heard better songs on this album. He was just rapping better. That's it. That made me believe.
That's why I said the album gives you a wide variety. So even if you feel like the outro it isn't his best rap performance, there are plenty of songs on this project where you can find a better rap performance. And I will say I hate super long albums. I think this album is like 21 tracks, 22 something. It's long.
53 minutes, 21 tracks.
Yeah. So, but it wasn't bad. I still listened. I listened to the whole thing. Mm-hmm. It caught me, and my phone has been, or not my phone. Tidal has been acting weird on my phone lately. They're pushing me towards Apple Music. Different conversation. But so when I got to that track and it kept stopping, I'm such an idiot. I'm thinking my phone tripping. So I keep pressing play. And it's not until like listen number 3, I realized I was like, oh no, the song just ended. This is the last song. That's why nothing is coming after this. Yeah. But it's a good project. I will say I can't call myself a fan of a person this early on. Like I haven't even been listening to Polo for a week. It's been like 2-3 days. But he definitely has someone to pay attention to him in me. So I think it's a quality project. I think he's a quality artist. And yeah, I'll be paying attention to him.
Grant, and only Grant, rate the song with Nicki on a scale from 1 to 100.
1 to 100. I give it.
No, I'm still here. I just don't.
I'd have to give it like a 70, like in that 70 range, because I don't think it was like the best thing on earth. However, I feel like he tapped in, like he used a sound on that song that he doesn't usually use on there, and I'm assuming Nicki came in and was like, hey, let's do this, and off the fact that Nicki rocks with him as an artist and Nicki sees potential in him. So I like the song.
That was polite. That was polite.
It wasn't one of my favorites it's not one of my favorites on the album. But it's not like just garbage or anything like that. I think it's a good song.
Delon trying to make me seem like I'm some rabid pit bull. People have opinions.
Oh man, I just wanted to know. It stuck out to me. The song stuck out to me on the album.
I think it's a solid song. I don't think Nicki wasn't rapidy or anything like that. So I think it's just a solid track. I don't think it's a bad track. I personally like introspective music. Though. Well, you can't tell artists what to talk about and not to talk about. So I think it's a good track. I'm sure there's someone who will hear those verses and it will resonate with them and they'll be like, damn, this is what I'm experiencing or this is what I previously experienced. So I enjoy it. Like I said, it showed me more, once again, that Polo had a varied taste and maybe ear, and that everything doesn't have to be like, I don't even want to say everything has to be drill, because once again, I don't know anything of Polo's music outside of this album to say what he's doing before. But it showed me that he can tap into many different spaces sonically.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to our 4th release of the weekend. We have, let me go ahead and get this ready.
It was the week before. It wasn't.
Oh yeah. Well, this is the week before, and also Polo G was from like a month ago too. So we have the fourth release we're talking about today on the episode. No, Mock was a month ago. Anyway, yeah, so we have Grant's second favorite rapper.
Absolutely fucking
we have Meek Anthony Orenthal Mill with his new single Flamers Flow. This is a freestyle, right? A quote unquote freestyle?
I think so.
All right, Dan, how do you feel about Flamers Flow? How do you feel about Meek Mill? How do you feel about Meek going into 2021?
So once again, at a point in time, I was a very heavy Meek Mill listener and supporter. In 2021, those feelings are not the same. But as in all things in life, people evolve, people grow. I don't care what Meek Mill is doing anymore. Much like the Migos song, I don't necessarily think this Meek song is bad per se. Is it something I'm listening again to? Absolutely not. I want Meek to find. I think Meek is going through like some quintessential like crisis as an artist, and I think he's trying to figure out where his footing is. I think he's realizing like with the ascension of like acts like Lil Baby and Dirk, and now even Polo G, there's not as much of a place for him as there once was before. So,
where's that place?
What'd you say?
Where is that place?
So I think Meek makes music that's supposed to be like geared towards a certain demographic, and I think once again acts like Lil Baby, Dirk, Polo cut into that demographic as well, because they're just making much more interesting and just on some level just better music than Meek at the moment. So that's why I think we've seen like Meek try to mimic Dirk recently and things like that, because he's trying to figure out where can he fit. And I think he's having a really hard time, and I think he keeps throwing things at the wall, and they just keep bouncing back because no one is just that interested anymore. So personally, as someone who used to listen to Meek, I know he has a Drake feature in the cut. Might as well just let it out now. And if it stick, it stick. If it don't, you just really know where you are and like what the place is. So yeah, I think the song wasn't bad. I want Meek to find a new engineer, because I've never been like the person that'd be like, oh, Meek's always screaming, it's too loud. I've never been that person, because I personally like more aggressive music. But in the case of this song, it just came off really loud. And I was like, I don't know if it's Meek or just who's mixing, mastering it and the engineer and things like that. So I want him to figure that out. But yeah, I just think Meek is, not every artist is meant to like sustain and be like just this super big presence for a long time. And I think Meek has like, yeah, we're seeing the end of that arc. Even the last album, if you look at its statistical breakdown, you'll see, the album's platinum, or it's about to be double platinum. And it's like, no, Going Bad has like 80% of the consumption for that project. And because of new streaming rules, then that means the whole project does well. But I think people as a whole have kind of moved on from Meek Mill. Of course, He still has his core fans. I think he'll be someone people check into just to check into. But I don't think anyone really cares. I know I personally don't.
With Meek, to your point, Daniel, with Meek, it feels like he's that guy that, the best way I can describe his music right now, and his place in hip hop right now, is that he's that guy that goes to the still goes to the high school football games after his class has graduated, and the class after that has graduated. He's in a place where he's not, of course, I don't think like in terms of pool, he's not in that area of Cole, Kendrick, and Drake, but he's also the young cats. The young cats are leaving him behind as well. And when you went up to the point about him copying Dirk, he has been copying him heavy. Like every song that I've heard, or every song that I've heard Meek on, or every song I heard Meek on lately, he's been biting Dirk or Dirk or Baby heavy. And his music overall, like, I'm just going ahead and say it, I'm not gonna call it a gimmick, but the way he constructs songs and the way his music in general, it's just kind of like dried out, because it's just, we know what Meek's gonna do for the intro of his album. He's gonna get a very nostalgic sample, and he's gonna rap over that. And guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna throw in a couple of woke bars. Majority of the album, he gonna rap over trap beats and get some trap features, and maybe one or two songs where you're like, hey man, Meek, he got a lot of potential. Maybe he hit up somebody else beats to rap over. Maybe he do better. But no, we're gonna repeat the same thing over and over again. Like his flow is just so. I'm not a hater on Meek's flow, but at the same time, though, it's so predictable, bro. Like,
Grant hate this nigga. Grant
nah, bro. Like the thing is, I used to not really hate Meek at all. Like, I really like DC4. I like Championships, but the more I listen to this guy, it's like
this guy.
I can't say he didn't grow from project to project. But at the same time, it's like ever since DC2, it's just I know what to expect. Like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with knowing what to expect, but at the same time, no, he doesn't do his job well enough to where, hey, I can predict what he's doing as a rapper and not get tired of it. Like with Pusha T, I know what he's gonna rap about every single album, but he does it so
Love it
well.
every
But he,
time.
Before, let me interject, Grant.
I'm not trying to compare him to. I'm not trying to compare him to Pusha T. I'm just
No,
using
I'm not
Pusha
about
T as an
to.
example.
No, I understand what you were saying.
Before you go, Dan, because you obviously have something to say. You know Grant hate this nigga because he just ranted for 3 minutes and ain't say shit about that single. He said shit about
The single is not like, okay. In regards to single, it's just not good. Like it does not touch me at all. It's just like, hey y'all, I'm Meek. I'm doing the same Meek thing I've been doing for the past 2 years, y'all. Like, come look at this single. And when you got X and when you got rap at like when you got guys like Little Baby, Little Durk out, guys who are just G Herbo, street rappers that are doing a much better job at street rapping than he is. And I want to say him dropping an album 2018 and not really doing much after hurt him, but at the same time, though, me just not interested. Like he's not interested. Like he not interested anymore, bro. Like that was 2018. It was like when the young guys they were starting to like, hey, we starting to really blow up. But like Meek, hey, I'm still kind of like a prominent name in hip hop. I ain't gonna say he the best of best, but like he was still like a pretty popular artist. Now it's just he's taking so much time. I want to say he's taking so much time off of music, and then plus all these other guys are just putting out better stuff than him, and the attention is just more on them now. That's just how I am with me.
Dan, earlier I asked you like what you meant by Meek's place. I didn't know if you meant lame or if you meant the obvious reshuffling of the hierarchy in hip hop in the last 2-3 years.
No, well, Meek has never been at the top of any hip hop hierarchy. So
of course,
I would never say that. So when I mean lame, I once heard Nicki Minaj very foolishly say that she felt like Meek reminded her of like DMX in a sense because he like spoke for like just a certain. I said very foolishly. Nicki don't always say the right thing. Sometimes she's blinded a lot. So she was saying that she felt like dudes from her neighborhood, street dudes, could relate to Meek and his actions and like how he moved, how he spoke. So his music was something that they could relate to. So when I say lane, that's the lane I mean for Meek.
Yeah.
So
it's one. It is because I mean that. My interpretation of what you were saying at first does also like go into like what Grant was saying, because like Meek was never at the top. I think there was like maybe a month where he might have been in the tier under the top.
Maybe.
He's always been in that. I think Championships is the only album. Is it the only album he sold 200K on?
No.
I think it was. Because I think that was.
Dreams Worth More Than Money. I believe that's what it's called.
Is that the one with My Eyes on You or whatever with Nicki?
Yeah. So that was also a pretty successful album. But yeah, that's a Meek is
now it's like
stimulus packages a lot.
Yeah, so now I don't know where Meek is like at all because I don't think he's in like first tier, second tier, third tier, maybe fourth. Like I don't know. He's just a name at this point.
He's just a name, and that's okay. Like you don't have to, and especially because Meek is not. So pre-Nicki, Meek was never like a singles artist. Like that was never his thing. Like I wouldn't expect to hear Meek on the radio, and you don't always have to be that because to this day, I know Cole has Middle Child, which ended up being like the first real smash of his career. But outside of that, I wouldn't say Cole has like been a real radio hit guy throughout his career. I don't think you need to be that as long as you can make great music that will resonate with people will be able to relate to. I think that will carry you places forever. I remember early on in MMG, I would say Wale was like the radio guy, the hit single guy, and Meek would be the guy who gave you like a really dope project. Not to say that Wale doesn't give you really dope projects as well, but I felt like Meek was more album centric and just trying to get to like I said, to that lane, to that cut, to those certain people. But I think he got confused and lost himself within the shuffle of The All Eyes on You song blew up. Oh, now I have a radio hit. Then he had the Whatever You Want song, which is essentially All Eyes on You Part 2, just no Nicki. Oh, I have like another radio hit. Going Bad blows up. So he's like, oh, maybe I can be this person. But I don't think Meek realized we were listening to those songs not for him, but for the people who were featured.
So that's exactly it. Like, while I feel the complete opposite about your Wale and Meek Mill feelings, my feeling of Meek's strength, I you know how I feel about Wale. You know, I feel like he has one of the stronger catalogs. Everybody's come out since 2008.
No, Wale definitely has a superior catalog than Meek. That's not what I was saying. I was just saying Wale has always had a huge single. So
yeah.
The regular, then the remix, Lotus Flower Bomb. Not Ass. That's Big Sean. What's another big Wale song? Wale just has a lot of big songs. I feel like
Black Bonnie. Black Bonnie. It came out like 2 years. It was with what's his name? I can't remember his name. I mean, it's not a smash, but when we're talking about singles, it was during the Black Lives Matter. So it was one of them.
He had a recent one too that was a big one, but that wasn't it.
Okay, well you caping for Meek singles, so I don't really.
Okay,
I'm not caping.
Anyway, so my feelings about where Meek's strengths lies usually comes from the freestyle type songs. And that's why I was confused by this release, because I was just unimpressed by all of it. I mean, it was just good rap. It wasn't good. It was alright rapping. He was rapping aggressively. Like, I'm never gonna listen to this again. This makes me not want to hear future Meek. This makes me not want to hear from him in this time. And honestly, at this point, I kind of just wish that he would just be a Twitter dude.
No, I wish he wouldn't. And I think that's where Meek lost a lot of people. I'm definitely speaking about myself personally. I think a lot of artists lose me when I don't want to see your personality ever. I don't
need him to be a rapper, and a Twitter dude. Like, at this point, his clout comes from his Twitter. Like, at this point, if he had to pick an occupation, probably Twitter. I don't know, man.
I think he has a fan base, he'll be all right, but I just don't think Meek is a hip hop act that people care to listen to. So I hope he has big name features on this album. I hope he has a Drake feature. I hope he can get Cardi B to sling him something else. I hope he can kiss up to Lil Baby and Dirk, and I hope he can just make it a star-studded thing. Because if not,
you just want to have the Migos album.
Before we move on to the next topic, to your point to Delon's point and to your point, Daniel, the best way I could describe this guy music, it feels like a lot of the guys, the younger guys, are doing Meek's style, his subject matter better than Meek, much better than Meek. Like, Meek's whole persona has always been, yo man, I'm grinding, I'm from the trenches, I'm getting money, blah 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 blah. These younger guys just do it as of right now, they just do it so much more creative, and they're just more clever with for instance, Lil Baby, Lil Durk, G Herbo, all these guys, they're just doing it in they're doing it just a much more versatile way, in a less redundant way, as I say that, to where you don't get tired of it as quicker. And they're just doing him better. They're just doing him better than he's doing his job style.
And I just want to say super, super, super shout out to Herb and Dirk. You just mentioned both of those acts. And 10 years ago, if you told me who was going to be the premier guys from Chicago who's budding right now, my money would have been on Vic and Chance. So to see Dirk and Herb being those guys who were still budding from that time to really ascend to this new level, I think it's beautiful and a wonderful thing to see. So this era of rap right now. I think, of course, you have your top dogs, Kendrick, Cole, Drake, but I feel stop saying that.
Keep saying this. No, don't let Daniel.
Daniel. I mean, Daniel. Let me finish. If we're going off,
you gotta explain.
You had those three people. No, Daniel. You had those three people, but you also have. I think we in a renaissance. I don't want to say a renaissance, but we're in an era where we're seeing street rappers flourish more than they ever they ever did before, in my opinion. Like in the 2010 to now era.
So you're saying as of recent, because no, DMX was selling like
no. I said to the 2010 to now era.
Then you went back. So I want to go back to your point about them three men that you named to be like the top echelon. It's a lie. So everybody know I love Jermaine Cole. Everybody know I love Cole. Cole is one of my favorite rappers ever. I want us to stop telling these lies. Cole sold whatever he sold first week. It was a lot, maybe like 260, 250. I don't remember. It was a large number. Immediately after that, all of those songs Cole stuck on the top 10 fell immediately out. By the end of next week, J. Cole will probably have no songs charting on the Hot 100. I want us to stop lying about the popularity of these artists because we like them or we love them or we grew up on them or whatever the case was. Currently, Dirk is a lot hotter than Cole. Currently, Lil Baby is a lot hotter than J. Cole.
Lil Baby
I gotta go with Baby. I'm not going with Dirk.
Dirk is not, and that also wouldn't change what Grant said about for this last however long. Those three, I would add Nicki.
No, Grant said right now
I'll add Nicki. Those three are the top acts. Those are the upper
going off history right now. Like, okay, if you said right now, with Cole right now, Daniel, with Cole right now, I'll give you that. But I'm definitely sticking with Drake and Kendrick. Like, I don't think I even debate them. Like, when they'll drop, like they're gonna do. To be at the top.
In a conversation about the changing of the guard, you have to acknowledge what the guard was.
The guard has already changed. It's not changing. It's changed. It happened. It's past tense.
So you have to say that's what you have to say it. Like we have to say we got here and now.
Yes, because I said you had a Drake, Cole, Kendrick, and then you cut in, and then. I had a Drake Cole Kendrick. You know what I mean. You know what I meant by that. But then I said also you have this renaissance. I'm not gonna say a renaissance, but at the same time you have these street rappers who had their kind of, I'm not gonna say their block era moment, but like G Herbo, he had like Drill era, Dirk had Drill era, Little Baby, he had his like grind time like in 2018. You have these rappers that are coming up like higher in terms of commercial success. Like, I'm not saying
that's two things, and I hate to cut you off again, but I got to in my spirit. Two things. One, stop disrespecting Nicki Minaj, and I've been doing my best to not even curse this whole time, but them niggas is her son. So I don't like when we name three rappers and Nicki Minaj is not one of them, because I saw the statistics by Billboard and the RIAA, and Nicki Minaj was the number 2 rapper of the 2010s era. So please, 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 please stop disrespecting her and saying any of these niggas not named Drake is above her on any list. I want to start there and just like flat that out. So just like bitches is her son, these niggas is her son too. Two, I can't say that like this is now that Herb and like Dirk aren't new acts.
That's not Daniel. Daniel, that's not what I'm saying. I am saying commercial, like in terms of commercial success and from a sales
moment. They're having their moment.
They're having a much better moment than they were having like in terms of sales.
Freddie Gibbs isn't a new act, but obviously there was a big jump a few years ago.
Exactly, like he had a jumping fan. Like, yes, I think Pinata is his magnum opus, but he's obviously much more commercially successful now than he was back then. Like, that is what I'm getting at.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and keep going. I wanted to make some things clear along the way.
Also, like, Dirk is not bigger than J. Cole.
Dirk is
one.
What did you say?
When was the last J. Cole song that was bigger than Back in Blood?
Because first of all,
Dirk sold 50.
Dirk sold Dirk last album sold like 80K.
Dirk sold like 90. Let's start there. But I don't think you need to.
But Cole sold double that.
Less than half.
So I'm gonna tell you this, and Rihanna is of course an anomaly, but Rihanna made me realize first week sales don't make you a bigger. So J. Cole has had throughout his career had higher first week sales than what Rihanna naturally does. Rihanna naturally is going to give me 150K first week, 200K on like a really, really good first week. And that's not her career average. She might sell like 150,000 copies first week. There are artists who will sell 500,000 copies first week. Those artists are not bigger than Rihanna. In Katy Perry's prime, she was selling like 180,000 copies first week. While first week does tell us a lot, it does not tell us everything. So just because you have a big first week, that does not mean you are a superstar and you can go anywhere in the world and people will rush you.
But you're saying Dirk is better than J. Cole.
So Dirk's
he's bigger than J. Cole.
Dirk's after that is just outselling J. Cole's week 2, week 3, week 4. Or
what I'm saying is Dirk is hotter. What I'm saying is a Dirk song, perfect example. We talking about who Meek needs to, or I was saying Meek needs to attach these big names to his album in order to kind of get something to stick. Meek would be better off attaching a little Dirk to his album if he's just fishing for a hit than he would be to attach a J. Cole. I'm not trying to downplay Cole.
So. I think definitely with a baby, I wouldn't say so with a Dirk.
What?
First of all, what's the sales on that Dirk Baby album? The first week.
150.
150. I promise you that 150 is more so because of Baby than it is.
Oh yeah, Baby's the bigger act, without a doubt.
Like if you say Baby,
bigger, if it was just Baby.
Baby's the hottest rapper out right now, without a doubt.
But I can't rock with the Dirk bigger. Like you can say
Dirk is hotter than J. Cole right now.
When you're saying people.
Anyway.
I think Dirk is hotter. I think it's a false. Cole will sell more albums. I think Cole's going to. So let me, because I don't want anyone to misconstrue what I'm saying. So I think Cole is the bigger act in the sense that I think Cole can sell out arenas. Cole's going to get platinum albums. Though I'm sure Dirk could probably get a platinum album. Cole's going to get platinum albums. Cole has built up this fan base. I've been listening to J. Cole since I was in the 9th, 10th grade. So, I'm 25. So Cole has, garnered this fan base with him that is going to stick with him. So Cole's always going to be that. But to me, I'm talking about who is hotter right now. So when I mean that, I mean when you look at the Billboard Hot 100, whose song is going to chart for the longer right now? Whose song are you going to hear in the club? Whose song are you going to hear in the party? I think Dirk is very much more hotter than J. Cole is at this very moment.
Okay. So I get what you're saying with this point. So basically, what you're saying is that Cole, of course, Cole is going to sell more than Dirk. However, what you're saying is like when we're talking about somebody being pressed for new, when we're talking about the grand scheme of the hip hop and somebody being pressed for new music or being pressed to, like you're saying more people are pressed for Dirk than Cole.
I think so. I think Dirk was.
I think it's. Go ahead. I'm not going to say I agree or disagree, but I can. Now it seems like, hey, you're not just talking crazy. Now that you construed it. I
love Jermaine. Everybody, there's not a Cole album that I don't own. I've seen J. Cole live like 3-4 times. Like Cole might be the artist I've spent the most money on. I own merchandise. I've been to tours. I buy singles. I buy albums. I need to stop paying for music. But so I love Cole. I never want that to be confused. But Dirk is hotter right now.
Disagree, but it's okay. That's our thoughts on the Meek Mill single. And just
in case you forgot, we think it is solid, but we do not care about Meek Mill. We do not believe anyone else cares about Meek Mill. We believe he is an outdated relic, and we believe that he is clinging to relevancy, sticking onto these younger acts, but we believe it will fade in time. Spark notes.
Fair. So, last project release of the day that we're talking about. We have, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing his name, Makami. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. I believe so.
Yes. I heard him say it in a song on the album and latched onto it. So this album came out in May 25th. I just may be shooting. I honestly think it was a very solid album. I was really surprised to hear Westside on it, especially as much as I heard Westside on it. I will say, and this sounds like blasphemy, I 100% enjoyed it more than the last Benny and Plugs I Met too. That was upsetting. But yeah, it's kind of just, I feel the same way as I feel about every Griselda release, to be honest with you. Just like, it was, I'm glad it was a relatively short album, but you know, I love hearing the rapidy rap stuff, of course, but we were just, I'm tired of that formula. I'm tired of the formula. I'll say it. I'm tired of the formula.
I think.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
I think.
Go ahead.
What are you saying? What I'm gonna say to your the thing about this album that has been significantly much makes it so much more different than what Griselda is, at least because I'm gonna give a little backstory. So basically, when Griselda first began, it was supposed to be Conway. It was Conway, Westside Gun, and then is it Mac or Mock?
Mock.
It was supposed to be Westside Gun, Mock, and then Conway. Mock left due to a beef or something like that, and then Benny was supposed to be his replacement. Well, now comes along, and then you saw Griselda fans being so happy that Mock came back, and everybody knew it was a big deal because Mock and Westside Gun had beef, and they squashed it. And I'm saying all this to say is that the biggest problem with the biggest thing about this album is that Westside Gun's executive production. I'm not gonna say it's overrated or underrated, but I feel like it goes very undervalued in terms of comparing this project into the other Griselda projects that that Benny has released recently and what Conway has released recently. I think it's very needed. And for Griselda, I'm not gonna say they're done or anything like that, or people are not gonna fuck with them anymore. But I definitely do feel like Benny and Conway need to make amends with Westside Gun, and I feel like his expertise on the executive producing is needed, or somebody that isn't somebody that's in that type of lane musically, expertise is needed for them. And then we'll get on to the thoughts on my album after this, but I want to see your response.
So I want to start by saying I think all this Mock Benny stuff has been pretty funny. Just watching people kind of throw Benny into the bus for Mock. So normally I would defend Benny because I love Benny. Benny was probably my favorite rapper at a point in time, but Mock is Haitian, so that's automatically flammable. I just want to say that Benny doesn't need to do anything. One, Griselda is the most popular that it has ever been, and out of all of the Griselda members, Benny is the most popular. Benny is the only one who's going to release a project and it will actually chart on the Billboard Top 200. So I'm not saying it'll be like a top 10 hit or anything like that, but it will at least make one of those 200 slots. We cannot say the same for the other acts. So I personally, as a fan, I thought it was corny to kind of see Benny act weird on social media about the Mock thing, because Benny is also once again, I really dislike when artists show me their personality and it kind of directly conflicts with whatever I believe them to be due to their music.
I expected more from him.
Yeah, so when I saw Benny being corny, I was like, oh, this is not how I thought you moved or how you acted. So it was, But I don't want to slight the Haitian and talk about other people while we supposed to be talking about the Haitian. So, love Benny, but I don't give a fuck about him in this context right now because we bigging up my Haitian brother, my homie. So, y'all go ahead and talk about the album. I don't want to, Grant, I don't know if you want to talk about the album first or.
I just want to throw that out there first.
No, you're right. It's good backstory because
we were going to be talking about Griselda in the first place, and this was the thing is I wouldn't have mentioned that if this wasn't Westside Gun's first collaboration with Mock since 2016. So I wouldn't mention it if
I think it's important because for me personally, I didn't know you're the one who told me that. Whenever you told me that, because I don't know the backstory because I'm a fairly new Griselda listener, maybe like 2018 is when I started listening to Griselda, and it really, once again, was for Benny. But so it's I think it's important backstory. But once again, I don't want to slight my Haitian brother and make things that are not. Yeah, I just don't care about that right now in the context of the album. So I will say this was my first time listening to my homie. I don't remember who sent me the album, but someone sent it to me. Maybe it was Grant. I don't know. Someone sent it.
It was probably Grant.
I really don't know.
Nigga, I sent
at 2 a.m.
Nigga, I sent it to the chat, and I was like, "Hey, y'all need to listen to this. And then Daniel was like, hey, this nigga Haitian, I'm gonna listen to him. He was like, well, I really like this.
Well, maybe, so I would say, but yeah, I listened to it that way, and it it was really good. I personally don't like West Side Gun. I think his ad libs are annoying. I don't really care for his music, so that was a low point to me on the album. I very much enjoyed the production, so I don't know if West Side is the one producing and making the beats. So if he's doing that, go West Side. But as far as rapping goes, I don't ever really need to hear West Side. So that was my biggest quarrel with the project. But no, I think it's a great body of work. I think it was very layered. I think once again he stayed in his sonic lane. So and even when he was because he even sings a little bit. So on what is it called, Solar Ray Theory?
I didn't hate it.
Yeah, so I enjoyed that song a lot. I think it may be my favorite song on the album. I was talking to Grant about it, and I was like, I really enjoyed the implementation of Creole in the album, and I just very much wonder how people who don't speak Creole interpret those aspects or parts of the music, but because to me they're very important. So on that part, he's like singing, the rain is falling, but like we won't get wet, and then he was like, I can never call the sun pussy because he always come out, and I just thought it was like such a beautiful. Yeah, just like transition.
That's one of my favorite things about the album was like when I heard the single, I was like, oh man, and this shit gonna be so good. And like, cause the shit like the metaphor, like I ain't gonna even try to be one of those type of guys, but the metaphors and like kind of like the imagery he was trying to make, and the symbolism what he was trying to make, I still don't know how concrete, like what the concrete meaning is. I'm not sure if it's for my own interpretation or like, hey, I said this, you can take whatever you want to say from it, or hey, I had a clear thing I was saying about this, and this is how you're supposed to interpret this. Like I still don't understand it. That's what I love about the single, along with the fact that the instrumental is just kind of like really mystic, and it really just helps Mock's mystique in general. So this is why that's definitely one of the better singles I've heard in a while in terms of hip hop.
I enjoyed it. I think the entire project, I think, is just beautiful. Once again, I'm extremely biased. I would never like lie and say I'm not, unless your name is Kodak Black. If you are Haitian, I'm automatically gonna click and listen, and I'm just gonna support because it's naturally me. So that means Katandra, Vince Staples, whoever you are.
Haitian?
Who?
Vince Staples Haitian?
Hell yeah, Nick.
I did not know that.
Better rep the Haitian excellence. Why you think he's spitting so ill? So if you Haitian, just automatically, I'm going to like tune in and listen. I'm just gonna support my people because that's just who I am as a person. Funny enough, I used to. That's how I know I'm full of it because I wasn't the biggest big Vince fan, and I had heard like a decent amount of Vince. I was like, hey, whatever. Found out he was Haitian. I was like, no, he's the greatest nigga out. What you talking about? And I maintain that to this day. So no, but I think the Mob album is beautiful. I think it's brilliant. I think, like I said, I enjoy the stories he was telling. I enjoy the topics, and I just, like you said, the musicality I think was just great. And if Westside once again is picking these beats, I think Westside has a phenomenal like job and future as a producer because I don't need. Yeah, it was good beats, and to me, a good beat doesn't have to mean like a beat that's meant to be a single. I don't need like a blaring 808. It just has to perfectly accompany and match the writing and the rapping performance, and I think the production perfectly matched the performance. So I enjoyed this album. I have no negatives to say about it. I think it's just good. I've heard a lot of people call it. It's not my album of the year. Cause shout out to my brother Morgan Wallen. Go pick up that double disc if you want to hear Wallen. But
Daniel with this again.
Hey, good music is good music. But Mock could be the rap album of the year. I don't mind giving him that.
I just found it hilarious that like the line he chose to take from Tupac. Just mama told me never stop till I bust a nut.
And I enjoyed that too because then he's speaking in Creole, so he says "got on farm," and that loosely translates to like "look at that woman" or "look at her," or which you usually say something negative. So I just thought the pairing of everything just worked so perfectly.
I just think that's a wild line in '96, and I think it's a wild line now. But you know,
You got fuck the world.
The second verse on that album is definitely one of my favorite verses on the whole thing.
on the album or the song.
I mean, the second verse. I mean, the second verse on the song, Marie, where he's talking about, basically he's talking about women in general. His, I think it's just, I think my favorite thing about that song was his cadence and how he was flowing so well. It just kind of felt like, I ain't gonna be corny and say it felt like a dream or nothing like that. That's some super rap nerd stuff. But it just meshed so well, and that's definitely one of my favorite songs on the album, along with Stellar Ray Theory and then Au revoir, towards the end of the album.
I love Au revoir.
Yeah, that was my favorite. Like the whole singing thing, the hook. What you say, Daniel?
That's what I accidentally started playing right now. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think even I enjoyed the skits. Like it was just, it was good. And I think maybe it's because, once again, my biases, this was just like a Haitian ass album, and that like caught me off guard. And because it was just like so much of that, I think naturally I just gravitated towards it.
Somebody on my TL made a good point, is that this is one of the first, like, openly, I'm not gonna say open, I'm gonna go ahead and say, Mock is one of the first rappers, I'd say, that just really, really wears that on his sleeve. That's what I love about him. Like you can hear, like, it's tied throughout the album. I'm assuming the album artwork is like by Haitian. He just really wears it on his sleeve. That's what I loved about the album. Because we don't really see many people do that. Besides, I want to say the last album might have been CJ Flies, where he was, I think he's from Jamaica or something like that. Him and Joey, something like that. But yeah, that's one of my main reasons why I enjoyed the album.
Yeah, I'm with you. Usher's still lying about being Haitian. So Usher, if you see this, or anybody who know Usher, we don't believe that you're French. We see your nose. We know what time it is. It's okay. Like, I understand it might have not been cool back then to be Haitian, but you don't got to keep lying to us, Usher. So yeah, I like that he was very apparent and transparent about that. So yeah, good body music. Delon, how do you feel? You haven't really said much.
Yep.
Oh no, I said how I feel. I thought it was really good. I didn't think it was like transcendental. I don't think it was. I thought it was skillful. I thought he was doing his thing that he was trying to do. I'm tired of the Griselda formula for this point. Like, I think I know we said we're not mentioning Benny. I think it was better than Plugs I Met 2, but I am one of the few people who really love Burden of Proof, and that's because, wow, finally we're deviating sounds. And we're like upping the BPMs a little bit sometimes, just stuff like that. So I'm just at this point where, like, I'm probably not trying to hear another 45 minutes of like snail's pace, underwater drums and that kind of stuff. And that's why, like, Au revoir, that's why I love that song, because it was so different than a lot of the other songs, like a lot of the other tracks on the album. It's just every time he did something different, it hit for me. Every time it was like the same old Griselda, I was like, he's doing his supposed to do.
Maybe for me it's because I haven't been listening to Griselda maybe as long as you two have been. So I don't get maybe tired out from that sound, but it has to be so. You know, I don't like Gun. You know, I don't really care for Conway. So
I say
Conway, by the way.
I'd say it was drastically different. I'd say this, personally speaking, I think it's drastically different than what we've heard from, like, not to bring them up, like slander him, like Benny, Westside Gun, and Conway, because like their production niche is kind of like, it's not bad or anything like that by any means, but it's like, hey, I know exactly what I'm getting. If I see Alchemist or Derringer on this album, I know exactly what the beat is like. That doesn't make it bad, but I know
there was
what's
one
coming.
of those songs with West Side on it where, like, the beat was cool, but they had purposely set the piano like over, like they had set that like
exactly.
That shit
bro.
made me want to jump off of a bridge.
That's one of my biggest gripes with West Side Gun. I know when that piano stuff starts, I know exactly what the beat is about to be like.
and that's the shit that I was like,
That's one of my. That's actually one of my
shit,
biggest. That's actually one of my only real gripe with the album is that with the beats that have West Side Gun featured on the song, I know exactly what the beat is about to be like.
So yeah, less of that. Less of that.
I
Oh
enjoyed
yeah,
it.
Daniel, Olivia Rodrigo definitely has the album of the year. But so that is us
Top
on
three,
the
top three.
Popular Demand podcast. Again, thank you so
Good
much.
music song of the year. Go stream that. Big Live out in stores now. You know her body crying on the bathroom floor. You know what time it is.
I think Jordan said we're going to be releasing a lot more frequently, so this is, I guess, that. But all right, we appreciate y'all. Tune in next week for another episode of your favorite podcast. Stay black.
Without me, baby. None of which that I can do that. I lost my honey. I've been crying on the floor in my bedroom. That song of the year. Stop playing with Big Liv. After Damage by her. But stop playing with Big Liv.
And now I'll.